Okay, hi everybody. We are back with our official interview, and this is Dr. Shaun McKee, who I had introduced earlier, and she is a double board certified neuroradiologist and also a mom to two teenage boys, married to a, what does your husband do again?
He's a gastroenterologist.
That's right, that's right. And she runs triathlons and is a two-time Ironman participant. So like I said, thank God she's biohacked. How do you do all of this?
With a lot of help.
Thank you so much for doing this with me. You just have no idea how much I appreciate it, because I really want people to understand what this means for their health and for their bodies. And I want them to hear it from a medical professional, not from me. So thank you so much.
Very welcome. I'm honored to be here. Thank you for asking me. I love talking about biohacking, nutrigenomics. These are things people really, the world is actually coming around now, and they're starting to get wise, and they're starting to realize that, this isn't your great-grandmother's world, and we're being bombarded by toxins from, the air we breathe to the water we shower and bathe in, the water our kids swim in the swimming pools, the foods we eat, the chemicals that we use to clean our houses, even makeup. We really have to go a step beyond. And unfortunately, just eating right and exercising is not enough anymore. Not even taking traditional antioxidants.
Exactly. So along those lines, would you help to explain kind of the Cliff's Notes version, watered down version of what NRF2 activation means for us and our health?
Well, yes, absolutely. I love it. Okay, so NRF2 is really a short little abbreviation. Sounds like Nerf, as in Nerf football, but it's N, the letter N, the letter R, the letter T, the letter F, and the number 2. And it stands for a whole lot of words strung together, but basically it's the master regulator of the body's protective, cellular protection. It's the master regulator, I cannot talk today, master regulator of cytoprotection. And cytoprotection just means cellular protection. So it's protection from inflammation, oxidation. It regulates detoxification genes, and it's active. It's actually in every single cell in our bodies, and it's really active when we're young. It gets turned on by things like exercise, by things like certain foods and spices. When it's turned on, it basically goes into the nucleus of your cell, where your information, where your DNA is, and it codes for certain genes that produce these proteins and enzymes that do all kinds of housekeeping work in our bodies. So basically, you can think of them like garbage men. They take out the trash.
Oh, I love that. and I love you explained it in a way that everybody can understand it.
Except for the long string of letters and number, the Nerve 2 is one of those things like, what? But it's so important, because now we're learning that it's not so much that it's not a thing that we should do to supplement our bodies. Are you getting feedback?
No.
Oh, good. Okay, I'm hearing feedback, so I'll just ignore it. To supplement your bodies, you don't supplement the power when you have, your really having a hard time focusing with the feedback. But basically, it's activating your bodies. It's gone now, thank goodness. Activating your body to make more of the good guys. And, we're not deficient in Nerve 2. It's just inactive. It's sort of, think of it like a rheostat, like a power switch where you turn it up, and children have it, on full power. It's totally able to protect their bodies. Think about it. If a 10-year-old sprains their ankle, they're good to go in 2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
Okay. If a 40-year-old sprains their ankle, it's going to be 2 or 3 weeks.
Okay.
If an 80-year-old sprains their ankle, they may be, out of commission for a month or more. Mm-hmm. So that's because the garbage bin are just not there. They're not being produced.
Mm-hmm. Okay, incredible. And so let's move on to NRF1 activation. So many people, that we've all heard the word mitochondria, but the implications of really strong, healthy mitochondria in your body is very profound.
Right. Okay. We all learn in school that mitochondria are the powerhouse of the cell. They actually are making these little energy packets called ATP, adenosine triphosphate. And that's required for every cell to function, for your brain cell to function, for your gut cells to function, for your heart to function. And as we get older, okay, think of these as little factories. What do factories produce? They produce power, they produce smoke, they produce exhaust. Okay, that exhaust being right there where the mitochondria are making the power, the energy, that exhaust is going to damage the mitochondria. And the mitochondrial membrane is really close to where, where this exhaust is, and it gets damaged. And after it gets damaged to a certain point, it starts making more and more exhaust. It becomes less efficient. And at a certain point, your body just, there's a process called apoptosis, where it's basically programmed death, and the body just eliminates that mitochondria. Now think about it, your brain has hundreds of mitochondria per, more than that, per cell. And if you lose some, okay, your brain cell's not going to function as well. So as we get older, we're not only having fewer mitochondria, but they're less effective, and they're producing more of the garbage that we need to take out. So it's a kind of a 1-2 punch, really, to decrease the trash by increasing the garbage men to take out the trash, but also to kind of clean up the factories and make the factories produce less trash, and also bring more clean energy, more clean running factories to your body.
Oh my gosh. I mean, that's so easy to understand.
Yeah, we are just a machine, really. We're a very elegant, beautiful machine, but like any machine, our parts wear out, we wear out, and we have to take care of ourselves, and we have to give our body the tools that it needs to renew itself.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I know, of course, we don't make any medical claims, but the last 4 years of my life, I have felt better than I did in my 20s or 30s. I have more energy and, better focus, everything. And I'll be 46 tomorrow.
Wow. Happy almost birthday. That's great.
Well, better than I ever have.
Yeah, I can echo that comment, because actually, I found out about these activators 7 years ago. I was exhausted, and because I had too much oxidative stress. Think of it like rusting. Oxidation is rusting. When you leave a bicycle out in the rain, it gets rusty. If you, anything that you cut an apple, it turns brown. That's because the oxygen is interacting with those molecules and oxidizing them. And I knew as an athlete, an Ironman athlete, ultramarathoner, that I was oxidizing a lot more than most people, because I was breathing more for longer, breathing harder, breathing more air for longer periods of time. So I was oxidizing. So my mitochondria were very damaged, and so I had very little energy. In fact, that's one of the most common reasons people go to see the doctor, is lack of energy.
Yeah. Yes. And what has surprised me is that, and if you want to comment on this, that you're biohacking right now.
Oh yeah, this is liquid brain food. Absolutely. Nerf2 for the brain. That's
been a game changer in our household for sure. But as a medical professional, if you could comment on this, it has surprised me at how few people, even doctors, have even heard of oxidative stress.
It really is. It is. It's coming into the nomenclature. I go to the anti-aging conferences, and now we're hearing oxidative stress in every single lecture. Oh, and there's a few lectures that actually mention Nerf2, which a few years ago they didn't mention Nerf2. They just mentioned oxidative stress. So it's starting to come around. This research is really biochemistry. It's tucked away in the research labs. There's thousands of pathways that are all kind of converging on, and they're basically when a peer-reviewed paper is published, they cite other references, and they're starting to see there's a common thread here. It's oxidative stress. It's the root cause of malfunction, dysregulation, mutation, etc. We need to deal with it. But unfortunately, as physicians, we're trained in name it and blame it. You name the disease, you diagnose it. I mean, that's why I'm great at, telling you why you have a headache, because your MRI shows you have a meningioma, or why your back is hurting because you have a herniated disc. But I think the key, no matter what the diagnosis is to get the cells healthy.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. And one last very quick question. I was saying as I was introducing the live that, the fact that this was featured on ABC News Primetime and that we have 23 peer-reviewed published studies, in PubMed.gov, which is the National Institute of Health Library of Medicine, those that is the only reason that I am even having this conversation right now. If I was going to stick my neck out, in direct sales, it had to be significant for me. So I would love to hear your perspective as a doctor and as a medical professional. How big of a role did that play in you saying yes to this opportunity?
Well, for talking about it, 100%. For taking it, none. When my doctor told me, and I found out about this from my doctor, which is really unusual because, again, most doctors are educated in medical school. There's a drug, a pill for every ill. You treat your diagnoses with the prescribed medication. Mm-hmm. But my doctor is a fairly progressive thinker, and when she determined that I had low levels of various hormones and minerals, she put me on supplements, and I was taking 28 pills a day, and I hated it. And when I went back to see her 6 months later, she's like, "How are you doing?" I said, "I hate taking that many pills." And she said, "Well, there's one product that's clinically proven to reduce oxidative stress by an average of 40% in everyone who takes it in 30 days. And my husband and I both take it. And we invested in the company because they have real peer-reviewed research done by major medical schools, including LSU and Ohio State and Harvard." And I was like, I'm taking that for the rest of my life.
Yes.
And and I was going to force feed it to my husband, give it to my dog, give it to my grandparents, my parents. I didn't initially plan to give it to my children because they're children and I knew they didn't really have as much oxidative stress, but they're athletes. They swim in chlorinated pools. So they're breathing poisonous gas and their bodies are covered with, poisonous water. It's a toxin. And so once I thought about that, and my one son was complaining about his back and the other one got injured, I put him on it. And then, of course, they're state champions now. They're state champion swimmers, they're state champion cross country, and, probably in basket. I'm sorry, brag moment, but for me, I knew I was going to take it forever, and I was going to give it to everyone I loved and cared about. But before I opened my mouth to tell anybody else, I had to read the research. And I was blown away by the published peer-reviewed study that my doctor had mentioned. The p-value on that is 0.0001. And a study is proven with p-value of 0.05. That 0.05 means there's a 5% chance that the results of the study were a fluke, and 95% confidence that the reason that the results were what they were was because the intervention worked, okay? 0.0001 means there's a 99.99% chance that it's a fluke, or maybe another 9. So if you did it in 10,000 people, 9,999 would have the same result. So p-value of 0.0001 is exquisitely significant. And so that's why the FDA allows that claim that this does reduce oxidative stress by an average of 40% in 30 days in humans. So, when I found that study and the results, the strength of that study, the fact that it was published in a peer-reviewed journal, therefore it was scrutinized by researchers that knew more than I did about anything, biochemistry wise, and scrutinized by the FDA. I was like, this is something everybody needs to know about.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for doing this with me. This is going to be, absolutely invaluable in helping me to educate all the people that I care about this. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. We definitely need to get the word out. This is going to be a game changer for a lot of people's health. So thank you for having me.
Totally.